Nowadays, I handle criticism with more dignity.
Every few months a game comes out that taps into an experience that I haven't experienced before.
Working at the games industry is not what I thought it would be.
It's definitely not what a lot of people expect. So I'm Paul O'Donnell, a senior gameplay programmer at Sharkmob.
My name is Michał Marek Król, and I'm a senior combat designer here at Sharkmob.
I think I've been in the game industry for about 8 years.
So I've been in the gaming industry for around 9 years.
I think I get into games the same way a lot of people do. When you're living in like a rural kind of countryside town, games are an easy way to entertain yourself because you have to do something other than just running around in a field. The social element was nothing like anything before.
The thing that got me into video games is just the general love for the entire medium. I've been playing games before I learned how to write properly, so games have always accompanied me through most of my life. I think a few games that I played as a kid made me go, yes, this is something I want to do.
The hardest thing about my job in game development specifically is it's got to be time. Seems like there's not enough time in the day. Code bases are getting so much bigger, games are getting so much more complex.
Knowing when to stop is like the feature creep and you always wanting to do more, better. One of those elements that comes with time is just a constant stream of coming with amazing ideas and learning not to attach yourself too much to them, because basically a week later you will have to throw it through the window and just say goodbye, sorry, there's a new one.
This is the future. This is my future anyway. Yeah, it's very rewarding, but it is daunting. How do you balance the technical and the creative? I mean, you're the creative, I'm the technical.
That is true. I have absolutely two crippled left hands when it comes to the technical aspects. But I would say, the creative side is the blue sky above. Like you try to come up with the craziest possible ideas, and then you basically crash them against what are the limitations of the genre you're trying to do.
You gotta aim for something that's at least technically at the brink of possibility and then bring it back from that. Nothing's impossible. Let's go nuts.
So, no, working at the games industry is not what, as a kid, I thought it would be.
It's very different. It's definitely not what I expected. It's definitely not what a lot of people expect.
Of Monty Python's flying circus. It's constant chaos, iteration. I can't imagine myself doing anything else, but it's a lot of trial and error.
Expectation was a hard one because I really didn't have any insight into how they were made. They were a thing that appeared on a shelf. I just thought it would be fun. I thought it would be, come up with wacky ideas. That's not what it turns out to be. I just didn't know it was as large scale. I just didn't know so many people were contributing to this one effort.
This is the first time that I actually genuinely feel that I am allowed to do my job with people who trust me and basically give me the opportunity to do what I'm paid for.
There isn't as much of a social barrier. I've worked before when I've seen certain people make decisions in one company that I thought I don't agree with that. And some in another company made the same decision that I agree with just because we chatted about it when we were hanging out in the kitchen or something. Sometimes you have to see behind the curtain to know if it makes sense. I don't know how many times now I've been working with a colleague who's either going through a time of outside of work, things aren't going so well, they're working on a project that's not good, or for whatever reason they're not happy, and I just have to think 2 seconds about what else I could be doing, what my family's doing, and I'm like, we have won the lottery. As bad as it gets, there's a baseline of the games industry, making games. It could be a lot worse no matter what. Smooth seas never made a great sailor. It's like you kind of need to know the rough so you can enjoy the smooth.
What I wish I knew before becoming a game developer, especially in terms of like design, I think would be like someone coming and really nailing it to my head that as a designer, you're not the alpha and omega.
The thing I wish I knew was how to deal with having a completely different and opposing opinion to someone and be fine with that. It was hard to see the end goal of somebody else's idea. On the face of it, I'm like, I'm not sure about this. And then they finish and you say, wow, okay, that really was. It's not how I would have done it, but that's probably better. And sometimes you have to take a step back and give someone the space.
It took me years to kind of learn and realize that being a game designer is not being the idea guy that whatever you come up with is the gospel. It's about talking with everyone around, and usually the rule is most people will have better ideas than you. It's just about you as a designer, you're kind of moderating that. A good designer is someone who takes the best ideas from all around and focuses them into a coherent design that works with the game you're doing.
Handling criticism in your work can be tricky. It's a skill that you get better at. The biggest hurdle is trying to get rid of defensiveness. I think I learned from a lot of my more experienced peers that they don't have the same defensiveness that at least I had. I think a few people who start off do.
Nowadays, I handle criticism with more dignity than I used to. That's also part of the learning process as a designer. There's always something valid in what people tell you about your designs.
I think once you've worked with enough people who go forward with an idea, they're not defensive. If you say maybe we should do this a different way, they think maybe, even if they know at the back of their minds that's not good. It's kind of, it might seem like patronizing, but sometimes I appreciate the fact that some people with more experience have enabled me to maybe chase an idea that they knew wasn't possibly good, but sometimes you gotta learn.
I regret not staying with certain studios or projects longer to just see how they will end up. Every studio, every project is an adventure of its own. It's the change that shapes you as a game developer. It's the new opportunities, new things. So in the end, I don't think I really regret anything. It's all a collection of new knowledge and experiences that made me who I am, and because of them, this is where I am right now.
I came out of my first company with a whole bag of lessons, which a lot of them you have to just make that mistake yourself. A lot of them I could have been more aware of. But it was. I mean, my biggest regret was coming out of education, so full of myself, but just with overly confident, unnecessary friction quite a lot. Where I just remember so many times getting into an argument about something that didn't matter in the end. It just didn't matter.
If I could go back in time and give myself some advice, be humble, and also probably, take drawing less seriously. Enjoy it. Maybe then today I would be more comfortable with drawing and using that as part of my designs.
That you need a life and work balance. When I came out of university, it was, I love making games. I could spend 24 hours a day making games. I've experienced crunch, and that was when I really learned this lesson of, even if it's your passion, you have to balance it with actually living. You can't just make games.
What was the most valuable piece of information you got in the industry?
When another programmer was like inspecting my work, and I was telling him about it, and I was maybe being a bit hesitant to take his help. I didn't think what he was suggesting would work, and then all of a sudden he just kind of snapped at me one day, and then I went home and I thought about it, and I was like, he really was right. But do you have what was the best note you ever got in your work?
The game designer is the prophet. He knows everything about what the game should be. No one should be telling the game designer what the game design should be. And that's the stupidest thing every beginning designer does.
If the direction is the direction, sometimes it's better to go with the flow and make the best of it than fight against it. How do you keep motivated? It's quite a tricky one. I just happen to just keep catching on. Some game comes out or something comes out, and I'm like, wow, this is a new experience. And I think the endless possibilities, it feels like every few months a game comes out that taps into an experience that I haven't experienced before.
What does the future look like for me? I've stopped asking that question myself because I've noticed it's almost impossible to predict what's going to happen with me 3 years from now. I might still be at Sharkmob doing other projects, or I could be making pots in Chile. I don't know.
It can be tempting to think everything's been done, but I think people have said this about music for centuries. But we're still churning them out. Yeah, the passion's always there.
The best advice I can give: go to a few game jams. Just give it a go. before jumping into the deep end of the pool with concrete shoes.
It's easier to move within the games industry than into it. Experience is experience, and don't hold off waiting for the optimum experience. Just go for it would be my advice.
Make sure you click on some of the boxes here to check out some more of our content, and make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on for this channel. That way you won't miss one of our uploads. Also, make sure to follow Level Infinite on our social channels, linked in the description, and please make sure that you check out Sharkmob, who are featured in this episode, and you can find their social channels in the description as well. Thank you very much.